Aoro could not get over his brother's operation. He examined the incision carefully and noted the way in which the stitches had left tiny dots on either side of the healed scar. He was simply fascinated. A fortnight later, he caught a hapless frog napping under a stone and decided to do an operation. He called Tony to hold down the struggling amphibian and then nicked its belly with an old blade. The frog passed out, or did whatever it is frogs do when in shock. Anyway, it stopped struggling. Aoro then sewed the wound together with a needle he had taken from his mother's sewing basket and a piece of sisal string. The bleeding stopped and the patient suddenly came to life, broke loose and hopped off madly. The surgeon looked quite impressed with himself. His love affair with medicine had begun. Before that long holiday was over, Father Peter came to visit his nephews and nieces. He was a great favorite with all the children, but seemed to hit it off especially with Tony, who became quite loquacious in his presence. Aoro was a little jealous of their relationship because the two seemed to communicate at a different level altogether. When Uncle Peter was around, he felt that Tony did not entirely belong to him. He had a great need of people and a possessive nature, and Tony was the person he loved most in this world. Tony was especially interested in the mystery of the Mass and asked endless questions about things that Aoro, with his restless nature, had never even noticed. His curiosity was insatiable, and his brother looked at him as if he was in the grip of some ailment. Yet Tony had such a lovable personality and was so loyal that one could always find it in one's heart to forgive him anything. Besides, when not being monopolized by Tony, Uncle Peter was great company and was full of stories and fun and was game for practically any game the boys wanted to play. Vera loved him for his intelligence. She had a great deal of respect for intelligence. Even disdainful Becky thought a little in his presence. One twin or other was always perched on his shoulder, and even baby Mary, who disliked most people, would toddle towards him out of her own volition. So when Uncle Peter announced one night that he would soon be ordained a bishop, everybody was delighted and insisted that they wanted to come to the ceremony. "Soon you will be a cardinal and then you can choose the pope or be pope yourself," declared Tony with proprietary pride. He seemed to know a lot about these matters, and his parents looked at him with interest. Could they be having a budding vocation in their midst? His mother, mission-bred as she was and still a firm Catholic after all these years, was all for it. Mark had his doubts. It wasn't that he was not a good Catholic, it was just that he did not believe as fervently as his wife did, though he thought that religion on the whole was a good thing. Like many other quite decent people, his religion had become a convenient and unquestioning habit. Although he had 4 sons, he would have been reluctant to give one up, especially a clever and determined fella like Tony. Like so many, he had a notion at the back of his mind, never quite given voice, that only those who were a bit daft could possibly want to be priests. Yet he liked and respected Father Peter and liked a good sermon as much as anyone else. Such are the contradictions of human nature. All the same, Mark felt very lucky in his children. Vera had set an unbeatable record at school. Becky was not doing too badly, though her preoccupation with herself caused her mother a lot of concern. Was there also a bit of cooling in the girls' relationship with each other? He hoped not. Aoro had always managed to maintain a continuous lead in his class until the time of his final examination that last November. His mother, however, felt that he did not apply himself as diligently as he should and could have. Tony was a good steady lad, no worry there unless the church grabbed him. The twins, Opio and Odongo, who were identical in appearance, were still unsteady and had not found their niche. They were 9 and, apart from the tendency, especially of the younger, to tell fibs, were not doing badly. The baby, now 5, was no longer a baby but an active little girl, a bit spoiled by having so many older sisters and brothers at her beck and call, not to mention a doting father. Father Peter eventually left the family and traveled to Aoro to spend a little time with his cousin Maria, who was now 70. Her relatives had been giving her a hard time, wanting her to go back to her ancestral village. She was very attached to the mission, but she was lonely, so the twins, Opio and Odongo, were dispatched to go and live with her and to attend the school which their mother had gone to so long ago. It was felt that it would be an opportunity for them to learn self-sufficiency, to find their feet, as well as to keep their aging grandmother company. Naturally, they were not keen to leave home, but they had their family's toughness and were keen to tackle the challenge that living away from the shadow that their bigger, all-knowing brothers presented. Besides, grandmother was unfailingly kind and they would have each other for company. When the results eventually came, Aoro had performed so well that he was invited to one of the best schools in the country. He walked on air for days and felt like crowing, especially when he remembered his mother's scathing remarks about his character in general and his laziness in particular. She took it in good grace and congratulated him warmly. Which parent will not enjoy being proved so pleasantly wrong? Tony, who still had 2 years to go, was downcast. He will miss his brother terribly. The twins had already gone to their grandmothers, while Vera and Becky would soon be back in boarding school. That left only him and his sister Mary, who could hardly be considered company. He was forlorn. His brother had been his close companion for all the 12 years of his life, and he loved him with all the strength of his tenacious mind. The only advantage for Tony was that his uncle's ordination to the bishopric would take place when all the others were away in school, so only he and maybe his little sister would be able to go. He really wanted to witness that ceremony. Meanwhile, he threw himself into his studies with determination. In all the world, there was now only one school he wished to attend, and that was Aoro's. Nothing will be left to chance. He will get there if it killed him. Aoro eventually left for school. He too was sorry to leave home, but he was also eager to start a new life free from parental vigilance, and also to test his razor-sharp mind against those of his classmates. It will be exciting. The excitement, however, lasted only up to the school gate. The place was too cold, the food too bad, the discipline too harsh. Within his first week, he had found himself on the wrong side of both the house captain for failing to make his bed on time among other faults, and of the head prefect. The latter was a true achievement, for the head prefect was a lofty soul who ordinarily did not deign to notice a mere Form 1 boy, a low form of life indeed. But Aoro got his attention all right, for one misdemeanor after another. It was clear that the boy had a problem with discipline, so he was suspended and ordered to come back with his father. When he walked into the house, his parents thought that it was half-term. Tony was all over him and he tried to bluster his way through. Is something wrong? Was there anything that ever escaped that woman's scrutiny? Elizabeth's eyes were focused disconcertingly upon him. No, of course not. But that is the 4th time you have told us what a dirty sort the head boy is, and the 5th time you've told us what a mean character the house captain is. Are you having a problem at school? Yes, but it is because those two are always picking on me and telling on me to the teachers. May I see the letter? Asked the mother. What letter? Stammered the boy, wishing he were elsewhere. Please don't waste my time. He reluctantly produced the crumbled envelope from his back pocket. He had been greatly tempted to open it, but he still had a strong desire to live, and a crime like that would have worsened an already terrible situation. When Mark got home that evening, he met a grim Elizabeth and a trembling son. Your son needs to be taken to an approved school. Look at this. She handed him the letter. He read it quietly, then read it again in case his eyes were playing tricks on him. He said nothing. After dinner, he called his family together. "I have always done my best to provide for you, my children. Of all things I provide, the most important is education, and so far I have been pleased with your efforts. However, I cannot force anyone to go to school, especially if such a man is almost as tall as I am. When one is young, his parents are bound by duty to provide for him. When he becomes a man," and Aoro here is obviously a man, since he is tall and he has a deep voice and a mustache, "it is his duty to provide for himself." The man in question hung his head in shame. "Aoro, school is not necessary for a bright, strong fellow like you. School is only for those fools who still want to learn. Today I will give you food. Tomorrow you go out and earn it. I will also allow you to stay in this house for 1 month, after which I expect you to move out and look for a place of your own." Mark stood up and left the room, his dumbfounded family staring after him. He had never troubled his head with vague theories about the supposed fragility of growing minds, and if he had, he would have pointed out the fact that he had yet to father a fragile child. He woke up his son at dawn and ordered him out. But father, I have not had breakfast." "Since when did you see breakfast walking in here by itself? Go out and earn yours." He reached for his belt. Aoro grabbed his shirt and took to his heels. He would take his chances out in the streets. Out there, he learned for the first time that everything costs money and that he hadn't the foggiest idea about how to earn it. When he got home that evening, he was famished, but nobody offered him tea. At dinner, no place was set for him, and his father sat sternly at the head of the table, his face hewn out of granite. Aoro slunk into his room and sat groaning on his bed. The whole situation was getting out of hand. Late that night, Tony watched him quietly as he got out of bed and headed for the kitchen. It gave a funny sense of deja vu. He had lived through that scene in different circumstances not so long ago. This time, however, he knew that there would be no success. He had seen Elizabeth lock the kitchen with a resolute expression on her face. The following morning, Aoro did not have to be awoken. It is impossible to sleep on an empty stomach. That night, even the porridge at school would have looked good to eat. Anything at all looks good if death by starvation is imminent. He waited for his father in the sitting room, feeling a great affinity to the proverbial prodigal son, wondering whether using the rogue's flowery language might help his case. "Father, I have sinned before you and God." But he knew his father well enough to realize that such language would cause his immediate banishment back to the pig pen. Besides, his father might just take him up on his offer and make him into a house servant. When Mark emerged from his room, Aoro stood up respectfully, his hands held to his back. The man held his future in his hands. "What are you still doing here?" "Father, I am very sorry. Please forgive me. I promise never to do any of these things again. I will work hard. You know how hard I can work. I'll never make you ashamed of me again, Father." This last as Mark made as if to turn away. "Yes, young man?" He turned and inquired calmly of his son. Aoro was actually sweating and was fast becoming incoherent. He had not eaten for 36 hours. Suddenly, he keeled over and passed out. His mother, who had been watching secretly from the kitchen, rushed out to her son. Mark walked into the bathroom and returned with a basin full of water, which he unceremoniously threw on the face of his eldest son and heir. The boy came to and shook his head. He looked at his father, and his father looked at him. An unequal tussle of wills, and Aoro recognized for the first time that here was a man to be respected and feared, not just vaguely loved and hoodwinked at every opportunity. He lowered his eyes and waited for his sentence.